Now, look, I've been the last guy on the stage a few times, and I know that at the end of the day, everybody's like, oh, my brain's melted. Dan said so much cool stuff. Arn said so much cool stuff and everything else. But I'm going to ask you this. I'm about to say some shit that's going to blow your fucking mind. I say that with 100% content because what Devon didn't tell you was they had to take me through the back because they wouldn't let me go through the front. And if they thought that was something special, wait till I'm about to drop this shit on y'all today. But first, let me take a selfie. So haters will say that it never happened, right? Everybody stand up with me. Come on. Everybody stand up. Wave to the camera. All right, cool. That's all I needed, nothing fancy. But I'm going to ask you a couple things here. I'm going to say some shit that's going to change your fucking life today. I'm going to ask you can take pictures of me. That's nice. I appreciate that. I don't know why you would want to do that. You'll probably break your fucking camera. But I took the selfie. Notice I held it way out here so it caught more of y'all than me. But here's what I know. You're going to be distracted, right? You're going to feel resistant signals to the things that I'm going to say. And stay the fuck off Facebook for a minute. Stay the fuck off Instagram for a minute, right? Give me a chance to really change your mind, okay? Y'all ready? Can you just agree to do that one thing? For one speaker only, I'm going to be up here for an hour and a half. As soon as I'm done, we're fucking done. It'll seem like 20 minutes, I promise you. But here's what I want. I want your full 100% attention. I'm going to be giving away $10,000 worth of cash and prizes. I got a wallet full of fucking hundreds, and I got a bunch of fucking prizes I'm going to be giving out and everything else. So don't leave because you might miss out on cash. You might miss out on something even better than cash, which is information, in my opinion. And I need you to be focused because if I see you on your phone, besides taking a picture, again, I don't know why the hell you'd want to do that, but besides taking a picture, if I see you on your phone, I'm going to disqualify you from winning. That's how fucking serious I am, huh? Oh, shit, who is this guy? Y'all ready? The second your mother squeezed you out of her fucking pussy, the world started lying to you. I'm not even fucking kidding. The second you were born, life started fucking lying to you and deceiving you. There's something called the force of average. And I'm going to teach you some real shit today. Where's my religious people at? Right? I'm going to just ask you to take that hat off for a minute. I'm not anti-religious. I've read every religious book there is. You know why? Because in the 4 years I did in the motherfucking penitentiary, that's the only books they had. All right, now do I have your attention? I'm standing up here, a guy that's worth $20 million when it's all said and done between my real estates, my company, and everything else. And less than 10 years ago, I walked out of federal prison with a $25 check, and the motherfuckers across the street from the prison charged me $5 to cash it. And there was a McDonald's next door. And I know there was a period where we called them freedom fries, but they were fucking freedom fries that day. So I had about $10 left over after it was all said and done. I'm going to tell you how I did that. But first, I'm going to share some worldly knowledge with you that very few people know. And then I'm going to teach y'all sales stuff. And then we're going to give away prizes and all that. Does that sound fair? Yeah. So let's take this religious hat off for a second and say that this blue planet that we're on is simply a microchip inside of a server that was coded by someone like Zuckerberg. Right? And anytime you code anything, there's an algorithm that goes to it. Artificial intelligence, Facebook has an algorithm, Instagram has an algorithm, Google has an algorithm, our world has an algorithm, and that algorithm is called the force of average. The second you were fucking born, the force of average has been fighting you, and those that don't truly see success fall victim to it. I'm going to teach you how to beat it today. Because here's what I know, in an event like this, you learn all sorts of amazing things that'll put you back out in the world, and you can make millions of dollars with it. I know I've been sitting right there, and I've got those $1 million ideas and acted on them and turned them into millions of dollars. But guess what happens? As soon as you leave here, the force of average starts sneaking up on you, right? It says, oh, this is going on, or you've got this problem over here, or you've got this hater doing this, or you've got this problem that you've got to go to. And it distracts us from getting done what we need to get done because it's trying to keep you average. You see, we live on this blue chip, and let's just say that outer space is just the space around this blue chip. I have a friend that's very successful, very wealthy, Dan knows him, hedge fund manager. And inside his office, they manage an algorithm that is artificial intelligence for stock trading. They never lose. Could you imagine investing your money with somebody who never lost in the stock market? That's why my friend's rich. And in these servers that he has where he keeps the artificial intelligence, each little chip costs $10 million. And he has a whole room this size of them, full, just constantly trading stocks and watching algorithms with no emotions, no research, no nothing, but watching trends. Let's just say that our planet's the same way. But in order for this blue planet, this chip that we're on, inside this server called outer space, there had to be somebody that coded it, just like somebody that coded Facebook. I call that not God, but I call that the divine coder. And again, I'm not anti-religious. I'm just up here trying to give you a different perspective on life, okay? And so that algorithm is called the force of average. And there's several tricks the force of average tries against you, and there's several things that you can do to combat it. I know I've been fighting it my entire life. When I was young, I grew up in a wealthy family. My grandfather owned some banks. My other grandfather was an entrepreneur, and he owned a glass factory. And at the age of 4, there's some older people in the room, the S&Ls crashed. Does anybody remember that? Well, that's what my grandpa ran, a bunch of savings and loans. And we lost everything. And at a young age, the most impression in our lives from the age of 4 to 7. Those are the years where most people, after the age of 7, they never level up in their comprehension on how they think in life. Believe it or not, at age 7, that's when you mature and you get smarter, but your comprehension skills very rarely develop unless you're awake and you're aware of them. Some people through meditation, some people through events like this, or maybe Tony Robbins or Deepak Chopra or whatever the case. But at the age of 5, my parents split up and I was given up for adoption. It was that bad. We were ran out of the town. Hell, my grandfather owned the bank in the town we were in, and everybody ran out of money. My grandmother went to federal prison trying to save the operation. My mother remarried. She kept me. My father abandoned me. My mother remarried me. Stepdad adopted me, and pretty much every day of my life, he abused me. Not sexually, thank God, but he abused me. One time, I was a young man, maybe 12 years old, and he choked me so fucking hard that the capillaries in my eyes busted, and my eyes were blood red, and I couldn't see for an entire month. I thought I was going to be blind for the rest of my fucking life. I remember every day before school, he would hit me 3 or 4 times, and he was a Mason, and his Masonic brother was the principal at school, and before they sent me home, he would hit me 3 or 4 fucking times too. Could you imagine if that shit happened these days? I would be outraged if that happened to my kids, but it was just everyday life for me. At the age of 15, I quit school. Last grade that I graduated was the 8th grade. At the age of 15, I quit school. I ran away from home, and like most people that have been adopted, abused, quit school, ran away from home, I was presented with not an opportunity to run Facebook ads, but an opportunity to sell cocaine. And it was the first money-making operation I was ever presented with, and I took the person up on it. I needed money. Obviously, I wasn't very good at selling cocaine because I ended up getting arrested for selling cocaine. If y'all think that's funny, just wait. I've only done coke once in my life. Because how many people in here know rule number 1 to drugs? Yeah, you obviously don't know about drugs. My man right here knows. What's up? What's that say on there? Flip it over and read it out loud. That's right. So, I had a girlfriend break my heart. How many guys had that happen? Right? Thank you for admitting that. Had a girlfriend break my heart, and I thought the way to get past it was to hire a prostitute. Hired a prostitute. She came over. Obviously, I got cocaine. They go hand in hand, right? Y'all have seen The Wolf of Wall Street, right? We know how that shit goes. She comes over. I chop a line up. She convinces me to do it. I bend over. I snort it. I stand up, and I'm dead within 30 seconds. If the fucking fire department wasn't less than 100 yards from my apartment, I wouldn't be standing on this stage today. However, when they brought me back to life with the things, I woke up, the defibrillator shit, clear. They brought me back to life. Thank God they were literally on the other side. They couldn't have been from here to the entrance, is where my apartment was, to the fucking fire department, or I wouldn't be here today. How about that for divine intervention, right? And so, funny story, I've hired 2 prostitutes in my life, and I didn't get to fuck either one of them. Maybe I'm not the closer I think I am, you know what I'm saying? I get sentenced to prison for 2 years. They sent me to 8 different prisons across the state of Texas. Texas is the #1 state for prisons in the world. There's 214 of them at the time I was there, and I visited 8 of them. One of them I was in, you can look it up, it's a place called Ph0Ne. I believe it was recently shut down because it was too violent to control. I was there for 8 months, and there was over 160 murderers in 8 months out of 6,000 people. I seen some shit, y'all. I seen motherfuckers get thrown from the 4th story, and when they landed, get stabbed hundreds of times. I seen fucked up shit that gave me amazing amounts of PTSD when I got out. But I made a decision in there. No matter what I did the rest of my life, money was not important enough for me to break the law. And I got in and I cleaned my life up. And like most losers, because that's exactly what I was at that point in my life, like most losers that just got out of prison, I took a job at a car wash. And I told myself I would be the best fucking car wash guy on the planet, and I was. I started off vacuuming them, then I ended up selling them. And that's where I got my sales experience, because on a good Saturday, we'd wash 1,000 cars. And I'd talk to every single one of them. And my job was when they came in, it was the one-click upsell, y'all. When they came in and wanted a $5 wash, I sold them a $10 wash, and I made a commission in between. It wasn't very much. It was like a quarter a car or a nickel a car or some shit like that, and I worked for $3.85 an hour, okay, almost like a waiter. But I was the best at it. And one day, a lady comes in the car wash that's a regular. She's passed away now, but her name was Monica. And she was a regular customer, and she says, every time I come in here without relent, you always try to upsell me. I said, lady, that's my job. She says, I'd like to offer you a job. And I said, well, what do you do? She had a nice Lexus, you know. I said, well, what do you do? She said, I'm a mortgage broker. And I said, lady, stop right there. Force of average. Stop right there. I'm a convicted felon. I have a manufacturing and trafficking of drug charge. I have a GED and an 8th grade education. I have 0 credit cards. And I got about $50 in my bank account right now. I don't think I'm quite your perfect candidate. And you know what she said to me? Oh, you're fucking perfect. You're going to kill it. Y'all do remember the subprime meltdown of 2005, right? I am my grandpa reincarnated, right? That's right. Some people made money on it. That's right. And so I take this job as a mortgage broker, and within 90 days, I had made almost $40,000. Used to take me an entire year to do that at the car wash, if I was lucky and it didn't rain for too much, because it rains like in Texas like it does in Florida. Not as much, but a lot. I built an empire of I owned 37 homes. I had a fleet of cars, one of the biggest homes in the city, but I still lived in a very small town, the same town that I was selling dope in originally. They thought I was selling dope again. They never even thought to knock on my door and ask me how the hell I did what I did. They kicked in my door, no drugs. I was on a vacation. I pull up to my house, and I look, and I see what I thought was an ambulance. Turns out it was a fucking SWAT car. But I thought what I saw was an ambulance, and I thought maybe my roommate was in trouble, so I pull up to the house, and they're like, there he is, get him. Put M16s to my head, beat me and my girlfriend damn near half to death. My girlfriend, 105-pound blonde chick at the time, they beat her in the back of the fucking head. Pulled me out of my truck with the goddamn truck still running, and the fucking kids at the bus stop over there almost killed them. Real good police guys, these guys were. They went through my entire house, no scales, no baggies. I told you, I learned my fucking lesson when I watched people dropped and get stabbed and all that other shit. No nothing, but what I did have was a gun to protect my family, right? You know, I'm from the dope game. Occasionally you got a little enemy that comes after you. In the state of Texas, it's legal for a convicted felon to own a gun in their primary residence. I still live in Texas. They charged me with felon in possession of a firearm. I beat the case. I'm a free man. The ATF did not agree with that. George Bush signed a law that said if you've been convicted of drugs, you can never have a gun. And what the fuck those two have to do with each other, I have no idea. But the ATF came knocking on my door after I beat the case, after I thought I was home free, and they said, Mr. Stuman, you're under arrest for a felon in possession of a firearm. And I'm like, listen, asshole, we've already played this game. It's not double jeopardy. You're right, but it's not because it's federal and state. So who in here knows marijuana is legal in California, Oregon, Colorado, right? If you get pulled over by a state trooper and you have pot in Colorado or any of those states, no big deal, right? As long as you're not stoned or driving under the influence, you're okay. But if the DEA picks your ass up, you're in fucking trouble. right? If the DEA kicks in the door of one of those dispensaries, they're in fucking trouble because it's not federally legal. Well, the same thing happened with guns in Texas, and I don't fucking know this. It's not like when these assholes in Congress pass laws, they send us fucking memos to our house, do they? Anybody ever read a law book that's not a lawyer? Fuck no, we don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. Like, we hope we're driving legal and shit. So after they kicked in my door, didn't find anything, I spent $50,000, $60,000 trying to fight the case, beat the case. The ATF comes knocking on your door. How many people know that it's impossible to beat a federal case? There's been like 6 people in history do it. One of those guys was John Gotti. Well, it was no John Gotti. Well, obviously, because I got arrested at 19 for selling dope, he was way better at that shit than me. They offered me 20 years in prison. And in the federal system, there's no parole. It's day for day. 20 years for their fucking mistake. I'm like, dude, if you want the gun, just keep it. You know, I'm not going to ask for it back. And it wasn't a machine gun. It was just a Glock 357. No big deal. In 2005. I panic. I go, and I'm out of money at this point because I've exhausted my shit. I've had to sell off some of my assets, everything else, to pay for the lawyer and worrying about what am I going to do if I do get these 20 years and everything else. And I go higher. This is very important. I know some of you are going to go, what the fuck's that got to do with the story? So I always say this first. But I'm from the hood, right? So I go to the corner of Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Boulevard, which both of those guys stood for peace, but there's always violence on those streets. That's an old Chris Rock joke. And I hire this lawyer named Craig Watkins. Craig Watkins is a black fella. He's very tall. He's very intimidating. He's very mean looking. He's a fucking pit bull. And that's exactly what I needed, not to beat the case, but in order to fucking at least not do 20 years. And no matter what he did, no matter what he said, they didn't fucking care. There was one day when I was so close to signing my fucking life away, it was unreal. And at the last minute, I backed out. I don't know what it was divine intervention, but at the last minute, I backed out and I said, man, we got to push it a little bit further and work a little bit harder on him. I had to refinance both of his houses in order to make the money for him to where I could keep fucking going, right? During this, Craig, black guy, that's very important. I'm not saying racist shit. Pay attention to me now. During this time, Craig, this black guy in Dallas County, decides that he's going to run to become the district attorney. In the history of Dallas County, there's never been a black judicial person, period. Never been a judge, never been a black DA, never been a black judge, never even been a black ADA, assistant district attorney. The district attorney was retiring, and the incumbent, the guy that was working under him, the assistant or the associate DA or whatever the fuck they call him, was a sure thing. He raised $3 million for his campaign. And my man Craig from South Dallas on Martin Luther King and Malcolm X Boulevard raised $3,000. And he fucking won. He fucking won. He was the first black, first Democrat ever elected into the Dallas County judicial system, and he beat that motherfucker by a landslide. He took $3,000 and bought buses, and we bussed every fucking person from the hood we could to those voting booths, and he won. Long story short, Craig set a bunch of prisoners free, and they fucking caused the case against him and made him sit down. He was district attorney for about 3 years, and he started the Innocence Project, started letting a bunch of people go, and everybody else in the county fucking surrounded against him, and they fucking got him in some fraudulent cases and shit that were not true and fucking totally ruined him. But he came there to not put people away, but save them. But what happened for me is he got elected as district attorney, and about that time, there were these guys that were robbing banks around Texas called the Scarecrow Bandits. And somehow, a Dallas police officer just fucking happened to stumble upon them and raid their house and arrest these guys, and they were being held at the Lew Sterrett County Jail in Dallas. Well, the FBI obviously wants these guys because they're bank robbers, and Craig says, not unless you hook up my man Stuman and these 2 other people that he had. They reduced my sentence from 20 years to 15 months, but I still had to go back to federal prison. Or federal, I was in state originally. But I still had to go to federal prison. I walked into federal prison in 2005. I made $773,000 as a 25-year-old man doing mortgages. I got married before I went in there. They give you 60 days to get your affairs in order. I got married before I went in there so that my girlfriend of 3 years could be my wife and handle my estate and handle my houses. And she did a great job co-handling that with her new boyfriend. 90 days into prison, I got a letter that said, I'm the one that told on you. I set you up. If you say anything about that, I'll burn every motherfucking pair of clothes you've ever had in your life. I've been fucking the landscaper. Me and this woman had never had an argument. I never even had an argument. And she left me with nothing. I don't have parents that put money on my books. I don't have any of that shit. I'm just doing my time at that point. And in 2007, I had to go do 15 months in prison, in federal prison. And during that time, ironically, the mortgage market crashed. Remember that? I got out of prison July 11th, 2008. I walked across the street, got my check cashed, ate my freedom fries, and went to the halfway house. After I was at the halfway house for about 2 weeks, they let me go. And I went and applied for a few jobs, and nobody would give me a job. And I had to think, the force of average here, I had to think, fuck, I'm a loser. I'm a 2-time felon. I wouldn't fucking hire me either. Except for I was a lot better looking back then. And so I go to this one place, and I remember they had TVs all over the place, and it was a credit repair solution type of place. And I wanted this job so bad it was unreal, and they wouldn't give me the job. So I went to the largest privately held bank in the entire state of Texas, and I applied for a mortgage job. Took me 2 hours. That fucking manager told me to get out of his office 100 times for 2 hours until he went, well, goddamn, if you will fucking just close loans the way that you're trying to close me, I'm like, put me in, coach, and watch me go to work. And in 2009, one of the worst years ever to do mortgages, I closed 183 of them motherfuckers all by myself. You know why? Because I want to show that bitch that left me that she wasn't going to ruin my life, you know? But guess what? This motherfucker comes back. And in 2010, our friend Obama, he signed a fucking thing called the Dodd-Frank Act. And the Dodd-Frank took state mortgage licenses, which I was fine with the state, and transferred them to federal mortgage licenses. And the Fed said, oh, not today, Stewman. And I went from making $300,000 in 2009 on my W-2 to jobless. That's how I got into internet marketing. They say those who can't coach, well, I'm fucking one of those guys. In every sense of the word, right? And the reason why I tell you that story is I lost the job, and they didn't want to fire me. I was the top producer. I was the #1 revenue generation for that entire company. When I left, they had to have massive layoffs because I wasn't putting it, there was nobody else putting up the volume. That company's nowhere near the size today as it was when I worked there, and I was only there for less than 2 years. We grew that thing from $30 million line of credit to $300 million line of credit while I was there because we were slinging so many fucking loans. You know how? We ran ads, right? Funny how that works, right? It's fucking funny how that works. So I go meet this guy named Mike Reese, who was a real estate agent that I did loans for. Anybody in here know Kinder Reese? All right, we got a couple realtors in the room. And I'll still remember it like it was yesterday. He was dressed kind of like those guys in the back. Y'all kind of look like Jake from State Farm, I'm just saying. Red shirt, khaki pants, and his shirt said KW Cares because it was a Keller Williams Cares Day. And my friend Mike's probably the biggest hype beast I know, man. He's always like fucking, you know, he's ready at any moment, man. He always says, we about to blow up. That's his thing. But this day, he's like at level 100. And I'm going to ask him for a job. I'm like, hey, man, you know my story. You've been around me this whole time. What can I do for you? And before I can do that, he says, hey, man, I just came back from this internet marketing conference. You ever heard of internet marketing? And I'm like, the internet? Like shit we log? What do you mean? You know? And he's like, dude, you won't believe this. I bought these $8,000 CDs. And I'm like, first of all, my friend Mike, I love him to death. He's my business partner now. He's one of my best friends, but he's one of the cheapest bastards I know. He still drives the Hummer today that he drove back then in 2004, right? He's a very frugal person. So I'm like, well, who is the motherfucker that sold you $8,000 worth of CDs? Because I was new to this world. I didn't know anything about it. But I took the DVDs home. He let me borrow them, right? Which y'all are going, that son of a bitch, right? It's like, you're not supposed to do that. But I took the DVDs home, and I watched them. And it was a program called Continuity Blueprint by Ryan Dice. You kids have it easy these days. We used to have to upload WordPress blogs and fucking code them and do all this shit and time in. It was a fucking nightmare. It used to take us months to make funnels. So I joined an MLM because I needed something to try to see if I could make this thing work. So I signed up for this multi-level marketing thing, and it was energy drinks. And so I registered the domain, the energy producer. I watched the DVDs, did exactly what they said. I didn't deviate from the plan because I didn't know any better. Right? Smart people tend to fuck shit up by deviating from the plan thinking they know better, right? Anybody agree with that? Right? Okay. And so I didn't deviate from the plan. I did exactly what it said, and I'm like, we're going to be rich. We're going to be so rich. I was telling my girlfriend at the time, we're going to be so rich, man. We're going to have Ferraris and Lamborghinis and all this shit. We're going to have fucking pink poodles on the diving board, Learjets in the runway, SLs in the driveway, air conditioning for the horses, and water beds for the hogs. You know what I'm saying? We were going to have it all. I remember I uploaded that blog, I said it, I fucking SEO'd it, I fucking ran an ad to it on Google, and it was about as quiet as it is in this room right now. Nothing happened for 2 days. And I had programmed it to make an alert, a special alert when the sale went off. Well, about 1:30 in the morning one day, that alarm went off in the morning. I sprung up out of bed as if a fucking burglar broke in. I ran in there, being the sales guy I am. I called the motherfucker. Hey, dude, what are you doing? Hey, thanks for buying our stuff. He's like, hello, what the fuck? I was excited, you know? I said, how did you find me? And he said, I was on the 4th page of Google. I said, hold up, what kind of fucking psychopath goes to the 4th page of Google? You're not going to ask me for a refund, are you? But and I never made another sale. But I knew it was possible, right? I knew it was possible. If you can do something once, you can do it 1,000,000 times. As long as you work and practice and make it better and improve it. So I knew it was possible. So I go back and I see my friend Mike, and I say, Mike, I'm not rich yet. And he says, well, the problem is, what the fuck do you care about energy drinks? I was like, I really don't, but I thought everybody drank energy drinks. And he's like, but they already have Monster and Red Bull. That shit you're selling is neither one of those things. Nobody's going to buy that shit, and you're trying to sell some bullshit multi-level marketing opportunity. He said, you need to start coaching loan officers to do what the fuck you did in the loan world. That's what you need to start selling. And I said, man, I've been taking business from those guys for 8 years now, man, and most of them know I went to prison because they scooped up my fucking leftovers while I was gone. Nobody's going to fucking want to be coached by me. And he goes, you'd be surprised. I dominated this market for a long time, too, and as soon as I offered it, they came running my way. And I'm like, all right, I'm a coachable person. So I make an ad, and I made another funnel, right, fucking uploading a WordPress blog and blah, blah, blah. Made another funnel. Took forever to make. And prior to this, I had no internet skills. Everything I learned was just from watching that. I knew how to use an email, but I was a fucking banker and a convict. They ain't really got, computer fucking classes inside of prison because they ain't trying to let you connect with the outside world. But I made a bunch of sales. I have created this program. It's $49.99, and I sold a fucking bunch of them, like $20,000 worth. And people loved it. And I took the $20,000, and just like most people would do, I dumped that back into ads to scale the business, and I'll be damned if the government didn't pass another motherfucking law that changed what I was doing and made it illegal, and they hit me for refunds. So I had fucking not only lost the ad money that I'd spent, now I had to refund these fucking people too. So everything that I had saved up from being a loan officer was gone like that. Like that. Boom. Force of average. But today, or just yesterday, I bought my 7th $200,000 car. I bought a brand new 570S McLaren yesterday and put that motherfucker to 140 miles an hour when I left the dealership. I live in one of the nicest neighborhoods in the entire county I live in, and the entire county I live in is the richest fucking county in Texas. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to show you that if I can fucking do what I'm about to show you, you have no excuse. That's why that chip says, fuck your excuses. Right? Because listen, we've all got struggles, and I'm about to explain some shit to you that will help you with this, but we've all got struggles. We've all been through some bullshit. But it's all fucking tricks of this algorithm to keep you average, because guess what? If you're going to be above average, somebody else has to fall below average. If you're going to be a millionaire, somebody else on this planet has to survive on $1 a day. But most of us don't think of it that way. You know why? Because the minute your mother squeezed you out of her fucking pussy, the world started lying to you. Ladies especially, because all of our fucking lives we've been told that we could live happily ever after. They tell us in these fucking bullshit Disney books. They tell us in these bullshit kids books. They tell us in these bullshit movies. They say, and then she finds her prince and she lived happily ever after. And then he met the woman of his life, or woman of his dreams, and they lived happily ever after. Then he became filthy rich and cleaned up his life and they lived happily ever after. And that's the biggest fucking lie on the planet. You know what happily ever after is? Death. That's what ever after is. Right? It should be happily ever after life. Okay? But you know what's real? The struggle. Around every motherfucking corner on this planet is the struggle. And it's the biggest trick of the force of average. Just like EdgeRank is with Facebook. If you put a YouTube link on Facebook, that shit doesn't get shown to your friends, right? It's the same thing. The struggle's real, but see what happens is the force of average gets you focused. Right, paying attention with me? The force of average gets you focused on happily ever after because it's a lie, and then when the struggle shows up in your life, you fucking freak out because you're like, oh, I'm such a victim. I played it. I remember asking God, I'm fucking going to church. I'm fucking taking care of my family. I'm running a business, and these bastards kicked my door in, and I'm fucking innocent, and they still fucking trying to put me in jail for 20 years. What the fuck is going on? Right? When all along I should have been fucking awake looking for the struggle because it's out there around every corner because happily ever after will never come to any of our lives. No matter what level you're living on, there's always some bullshit you're going to have to deal with. And that's because the force of average says, hey, if you beat that bullshit, you get to level up. But if you fall victim to that bullshit, which what most people do, you stay where you're at or you level down. There was plenty times in prison when a person decided that they were going to get up and fight somebody, and he got slapped in the fucking face, and they sat their bitch ass right the fuck back down into their comfort zone and never stepped out again. And that's what life does to all of us, right? The second that you go run an ad and it doesn't work right, you turn around and you go, oh, fuck it, this isn't for me. I'll just go back to working at McDonald's. I'll just go back to, I know this isn't a group full of McDonald's people. I'm just being funny, but everybody's like, hey, what an asshole. We weren't working at McDonald's. But what happens is we get slapped unexpectedly. But when Floyd Mayweather steps into the ring or Conor McGregor steps into the ring or whoever's fighting, they're expecting to be slapped when they're in there, right? But we don't live life that way because we've been distracted and lied to, and we've been told that happily ever after is the thing, so we spend our entire life in the pursuit of happily ever after. The struggle slaps us and sits our asses right back down. See, hard heads got to learn the hard way, right? I was supposed to be doing this all along, and I'm doing mortgages instead. Right? And so the force of average slaps my ass and sits me right the fuck back down. Well, what happens is the struggle is the biggest trick of the force of average because we search for happily ever after, it doesn't exist, and then we get all victimized by the struggle. But the other thing, that's the second biggest tool, so I'll write these down. Number one is the struggle. And by the way, I have terrible handwriting. I have a 6-inch rod in my hand. Fuck you if you got a dick joke. And my father was beating the shit out of my stepfather was beating the shit out of me one day, and I jumped out of the second-story window and landed on it and never went back home again and didn't have money to get it fixed. Then later when I was in prison, one of the Aryan Brotherhood guys tried to recruit me into the gang, and I wasn't down with that shit, and I had to fight 2 of them, and when I knocked the second one out, I hit the fucking cinder block wall behind it and couldn't go and tell the fucking infirmary what had happened because then I'd be a snitch, and we all know what happens to snitches. They get stitches. And so I couldn't fucking do anything about it. Then in 2010, I was bench pressing 325 pounds, and I missed the fucking rack, and my spotter wasn't paying attention, and my hand fell off. I'm lucky I even got this motherfucker. So I think that's a good excuse for bad handwriting. That's the only one I'll accept, though. But so it's the struggle. Every day when I wake up, the first thing I do is I say, where you at, motherfucker? I know you're lurking around that corner somewhere. Where you at, struggle? Come bring it to me. I've been working out. I'm in shape. I'm strength conditioning. I've been through this shit that I've been through so that I can fight you. Where you at? I spoke in Wyoming 2 days ago. Right before I got on stage, a client quit on me. He decided to spend, this probably happened to everybody in the room. He decided to spend money on a stupid ass fucking car and then didn't have a good month because he wanted to put like 1,000 horsepower in this car, so he didn't focus on work that month. Then he couldn't pay the bill to stay in the program, and I had to get real with him. And sometimes when you get real with people, they get real fucking timid, and they get upset, and their balls shrink, and their egos hurt, and everything else. And right before I had to get on stage, that happened, and I'm like, I see what the fuck you're doing to me, Force of Average. Not today, Satan. Before I got on stage today, there's a guy that's made at least 15 different profiles posts talking shit about me for some shit that I didn't do, because you know I'm about to change all of y'all's lives. Every time you're going to come out, every morning I wake up looking for it, because I know I'm going to do big things, and if I'm going to do big things are going to come against me, because how can I do big things if I can only handle small things? Right? So now you're awake. Now you're awake. Now you know to look for the struggle instead of happily ever after. I'm not telling you can't be happy, because you can. And I'm not telling you that the woman of your dreams won't change your life, because my wife has absolutely changed my life. We have 3 beautiful boys, 6, 5, and 1 years old. One of them will probably grow up to be president of the United States because of the way that we're grooming them. They're in private school. I've never beat them. I don't let them go around my family. You see what I'm saying? I make sure none of these things will fucking happen to my kids that happened to me. I will be the dad that I never had. But I wake up every day, thank you. I wake up every day looking for the struggle, because I'm not fucking stupid anymore. I'm not asleep anymore. I know what's going on. But here's the second fucking tool that the Force of Average uses. Distraction. How many people know that you get distracted every day? How many people would say they're ADD in this room? Raise your hand. How many people have been told that they need Adderall, Ritalin, Cylert, some shit like that? Damn near everybody in the fucking room. You see that? That's crazy. That's this shit. That's not doctors. That's not fucking teachers. That's this shit coming after you, because you know what the most powerful motherfucking weapon on this planet is? Your mind. The mind gets what it focuses on. When I got out of prison, I focused on becoming the baddest motherfucking loan officer in the fucking country, and that's exactly what I did. When I got out of prison the first time, I focused on being the best fucking car wash guy in the world, and that's exactly what I did. The mind gets what it focuses on, and the Force of Average knows that if it can fucking distract you, you will not get what the fuck you want, and that's what it wants, so it can keep you average. See, there's a reset period. You have to ask yourself. We leave and we focus and we say, I'm going to make $1 million this year. And then something comes up, right? A hater, a fucking client that's bitching, a refund that comes through, or whatever the case. And then we're like, oh shit, man, you know, fuck, I'm distracted with this, and I let it take over my day and everything else. And then all of a sudden you've wasted 6 hours thinking about some shit that there's nothing that you can fucking do. Nothing that you can do to fix it, and it's distracted, and it's kept you from getting what you want, because the Force of Average knows that if you put this motherfucker to work, then it can't stop you. It's impossible to stop you. And so you have to ask yourself, when you find yourself in a funk, you have to say, am I in the reset period? Because the faster that you can go from distracted back to being focused, and you have to wake up and realize that, shit, I'm being distracted. See, right now, every time big things happen in my life, haters, the things that are fucking going wrong, whether I don't lose money in business, but haters, fucking things aren't going right, my employees aren't acting right, people are catching the flu, whatever the fuck the case is, I know that if I beat that shit, I get to go to the next level. Right? When you play video games, there was always the big boss at the end that you had to fight before you could go to the next level. And life is no different, right? If you have all this shit coming up against you, instead of feeling like a victim, you should feel like a victor, because you're like, as soon as I kick this shit's ass, I'm fucking going up. But many people go, oh, don't hurt me, I can't take it today. And that's exactly what it's designed to do. And so focus is the key. So you have to ask yourself every day, where are you at, struggle, and am I distracted? Because the mind gets what it focuses on. And we get, and every single day, the weight of the world comes against you, trying to distract you so you're not focused. Because in order for you to attain what you want, Newton's law, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So in order for you to get what you want, something, somewhere, someone in this world has to lose something. And some people say that's not how it works, and that's bullshit. If that's not how it works, then how come most of India lives on $1 a day and most of America makes at least 30 grand a year? In order for us to be where we're at, some other country has to be where they're at. And I just say that because it's the truth. And it's the experience that I've had. But I know that if you can work on being focused, and as soon as you realize that you have a game plan, and your game plan is whatever it is, and as soon as you realize that you're not on track to actually fulfill that game plan, you have to step out of that reset period and get right back into focus zone. Do you know, I read a post the other day from a friend of mine, and he said, I charge $500 an hour to do work. And he goes, a couple of hours a day, I probably scroll my phone. So I'm blowing $365,000 a fucking year in time just scrolling my phone. Isn't that crazy? But he knows, he's focused. And so now he's awake, he sees that that's his struggle, and he's focused, and he says, okay, so now I make sure the time I'm on my phone is not playing games or playing apps, it's on, prospecting on Facebook or whatever the case may be. So on this algorithm that we're in, this force of average, if you're gonna go up, there's gonna be things that come against you to push you back down. How many people have had $1 million funnel, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work anymore? Right? How many people have built a badass product that sold and then something fucking happened? And what most people do is they say, well, shit, I guess it's over. And that's exactly what it wants you to do. But the people that say, hey, let me get behind the scenes and see if I can tweak my offer. You see all the stuff that Dan was talking about, tweaking and testing and everything else. But that's the way the world wants. It wants you to be distracted because once you're laser focused, you are an unstoppable human being. Do you understand that? I want you to know that everybody in this room can be an unstoppable human being as long as you stay focused. And if you find yourself distracted, it's as simple as asking yourself 4 or 5 times a day, am I distracted or am I focused on what I'm supposed to be doing? You don't need a pill for that. You don't need a fucking drug for that. You don't need to smoke pot for that. You don't need to drink alcohol for that. And I don't care what the fuck you do with your life. I've got my own damn vices, right? But I'm saying, and it throws things at us like addictions. And it throws things at us like when I wrote my first book called Hardcore Closer, I told the story of my life in this book. And I had finally, after all these years, rekindled a relationship with my mother and my stepfather and my real father. As I grew up, 30 years old, semi-successful, I went back and I said, how can we become a family again and make all this right? And we did okay at it. And as soon as I released my first book, I sent them a copy of it before I released it to the public. And they said, if this fucking thing hits the public, we'll never talk to you again. I haven't talked to my parents in six years. But what if I'd have listened to those 3 pieces of shit? Yeah, I said that. What if I'd have listened to those 3 pieces of shit? I wouldn't be here in front of we sit in front of 3.5 million people a week consume my content. Think of how many lives I changed, telling this story, helping inspire people. And the force of average sent the 3 most important people in my life to make it stop. And I had to just make a decision not to be distracted and stay focused on my goal and not worry. Hey, you know what? I appreciate that. But you know what? I bet they hate reading about me in Forbes every week. And so I tell you that because I really want you guys to have a major breakthrough here. I know this is an event about running ads and running a business. And I want to tell you something, one last thing before we get back into the business side of things, because you'll see how I tie it all together. But one thing I want to tell you is that most of us, especially us dudes, sir, and I'm not accusing you of anything, but especially us dudes, we just say, I'm going to level my business up. And then when we go and we level our business up, we lose our wives, right? We go and we level our business up and then we lose time away from our kids. We go and we level our business up and we get, sorry, ladies and gentlemen, if you get mad and offended by this, I really don't give a fuck, but we get fat and out of shape. And then we end up spending every goddamn dollar that we make fucking being badass internet marketers to fucking save us from diabetes, cancer, and all this bullshit. It's all part of the force of average. And so I tell you, when you level your business up after you leave here today or tomorrow or Sunday or whenever it is that you leave, when you level your business up, if you don't level every area of your life up, you just fucking wasted your time and energy anyway. Because if you're going to be on the next level and you don't take your wife, your kids, your friends, your employees, the people that you care about, if you don't take them to the next level and you leave them on the level below, eventually it will fucking average out for you. And if you don't level up in 4 areas of your life, and most people only think about business, the biggest lie we're told from the force of average is if I can just get more money, I can solve every problem I have. But let me tell you something, ladies and gentlemen. If your problems can be solved by money, they're not fucking big enough. Right? If your problems can be solved with money, they're not big enough. I need my problems to be fucking huge. Because I know if I have huge problems, I'm going to have huge breakthroughs. And I'm not scared of huge problems. Do I get distracted? Absolutely. I'm a human being. We're wired that way. I'm wired in fight or flight mode my entire life. It's been like fucking, I used to come home from school and be like, oh shit, what's going to happen to me today? I used to walk around the cell block in prison like, oh shit, what's going to happen today? You drop a bar of soap in there, it's you're fucking staying dirty. You know what I'm saying? I'll shower again tomorrow, right? And so I tell you guys this because you can be unstoppable. But here's what happens. As soon as you leave here, the force of average is going to kick in and keep you from implementing the shit that you learn here. And what more importantly, those of you that do implement it, the force of average is going to kick in and keep you from leveling up in the other 3 areas of your life as well. You have family. You have to level up with your family. You see, I've been divorced 3 times. Sadly, it's all my fault. All but the bitch that left me in prison were great women. And I say that because every time I leveled up in my business, but I didn't level up as a husband. Right? Any guys understand what I'm saying? Keep your hands down in school, you don't have to. Especially if your wife's next to you. Each time I put business first. And I'm not saying you need to put family first, but they all need to be even. So we've got family, fitness. If you level up and you make millions of dollars, there's a saying that says people spend all their lives trying to make money in the ends of their lives trying to use it to stay alive, right? So you got family, fitness is important, finances, obviously, your business, and your faith. I'm not a religious person. I'm a spiritual person. I know probably a lot of the people in the room identify with that. I've read every religious book that I could get my hands on, from the Quran to the Torah to the book of Jesus Christ and Latter-day Saints to the Holy Bible, everything else, right? I really feel like I'm Joseph from Genesis, for those of you that know that book. I am him reincarnated. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. Can I get an amen? And so here's the thing. When you leave here, these problems are going to show up. And then you're going to think that if you just get better at business, that those problems will go away. But if you don't get better in all 4 of those areas, those problems will haunt you for the entirety of the rest of your life. There's no exceptions. I have a perfect marriage today. And by perfect, I don't mean we come home and it's na 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 na. It kind of is like that. She's kind of crazy about me. I don't know, that God wired her for me, I guess. But here's what I know. We have a perfect marriage because I got focused on what I want. The other 3, I just accepted anybody who loved me because I wasn't loved growing up, or I didn't feel love growing up. So if you told me you loved me, I wanted to spend the rest of my life with you because nobody ever fucking treated me with love. But one day I got focused and I wrote down what my perfect woman would be. I wrote down, like, we just designed a business plan. Most of us never fucking design a marriage plan. I wrote down, anybody ever seen Frank Kern's Perfect Customer or Core Influence? Anybody ever seen that? I did that for my spouse. 9 months later, she shows up into my life. Yep. I mean, to a T. And I could show you right now, and then I could show you what my wife did today, and you'd go, holy fuck, that's crazy. And we've been together for 4 years now. She shows up, and we dated for about 3 months, and I give it to her, and I said, do you think this is you? She goes, you designed me. I'm like, it's like weird science, baby. Some of you older people know that, right? Youngsters are going, what the fuck is weird science? You're out of shape, Al. I'll kick your ass. Y'all remember that? Kelly LeBrock was fine as a motherfucker back in the day. Steven Seagal fucked that up, didn't he? The youngsters are still like, what the fuck is he talking about? So when you leave here, these things are going to happen, but now I've made you aware of them, okay? Now you know to look for the struggle. You know when you're in that reset period and you're not focused and you're distracted, and you know you've got to level up across all those 4 areas. Okay? Is everybody good with that? You feel like you got something from that? Did it expand your mind a little bit? Y'all want to talk about sales now? I still got $10,000 worth of shit to give y'all, right? So here's what I know about internet marketers. Y'all hate being salespeople. It's because the force of average. That's all it is. You hate being a salesperson. Say, if I just get real good at marketing, then I won't have to worry about picking up the phone. If I just get real good at making VSLs, then I'll never have to talk to anybody. Right? Well, I know that every time I pick up the phone, I make 10 times as much money as I do just by sending emails and text. You know why? Because of this. 57, 37, 6. 57% of communication is tonality. If I look at you and I say, you're a fucking asshole. Or if I look at you, you're a fucking asshole, man. You see the difference? I said the same exact words. 2 different tones make all the difference in the world. So when you can be the best copywriter in the world, we see people arguing on Facebook all the time because there's no voice inflection, and people hear how they are, and they're starting arguments. I've done it too. I see Dan do it too. We think, because Dan and I are a lot alike, right? We are no bullshit. I have no fucking patience for fucking excuses, right? And so when somebody's saying some shit that could be nice, we misconstrue it sometimes because we're not hearing their tonality, and we fuck things up. The phone conveys tonality. Videos are great because they convey tonality, right? If you have ever read the book, The Way of the Wolf, it's Jordan Belfort's latest book, and you're like, dude, the sales guy, why is he promoting another sales guy? But Jordan, his specialty, whether you like him or not, I know some people are like, oh, guy's a scammer, whatever. He's the master at tonality. That's how Oakmont Stratton did what they did. It was not the scripts they had, but the tonality that he taught them behind the scripts. So if you wonder why your VSL doesn't convert and you have the best fucking copywriting you've ever done in your life, it's probably your tonality coming out wrong. Think about that. So we got tonality. Anybody know what the 37% is? Body language. It's another reason why videos work really well. Anybody ever been to an event where the guy on stage, not me of course, but the guy on stage is saying all these great things that make 100% to you. He's got the right tonality. This usually happens in multi-level marketing, right? You go to an event and the guy's saying all the right stuff. He's saying all the right things and you're like, dude, this is awesome. This is exactly what I need in my life. But for some reason, I'm just not buying. That's because they're saying, it's hard for me to even do this. That's because they're saying yes and they're shaking their head no. That's because they're saying you, but they're pointing at themselves. So you have to make sure when you're selling on your VSLs, you're selling your videos, you're meeting people face to face, you're on the stage, you have to make sure that your body language conveys the same thing as your vocal language. You know why? Because that's what we perceive people. And we're watching subconsciously. Most people aren't woke enough to even understand this is how our subconscious works. So they just say, I'm getting mixed signals. Right? But we have to understand that body language is huge. And so when you may have the best VSL in the world. Oftentimes people come to me and say, man, my video's not converting. I'm like, well, your body language is not congruent with the language that you're actually using. You must not believe in yourself. You know? Because that's really what happens. People don't believe in themselves. So we got body language. And then 6% is the actual words. So if you're just writing sales letters, and there's nothing wrong with that. I write sales pages all the time. But if you're just writing posts on Facebook, just writing sales letters, just doing words only, you're missing 94% of communication. You better be one motherfucking badass copywriter. Your name better be John Carlton, right? Nobody knows who that is? Ooh, shit, y'all better get you a copy of Kick-Ass Copywriting Secrets of a Marketing Rebel. That's that book changed my life. Right? It made me the copywriter I am today. One book, $97 will change your fucking life if you've never read it. But so this is how communication works. And so that's why the phone's important, because while you can't see body language, they can hear tone and inflection. And we have frequencies. You know, there's different frequencies. Like one time I was tripping ayahuasca in Utah. I talked to God. I did. He was a goat, lamb, deer, human, grass fucking composition thing. I'm dead serious. And I was tripping ayahuasca one time, and I had that revelation that there is frequencies in the world that operate. Our voice is a frequency. It's a vibration, right? There's these frequencies. Well, there's inflections and tones that pass on the phone that we just can't do through writing emails and text messages. And I know some of you will say, well, I'm an introvert. I don't like to get on the phone with people. Fuck you, force of average. Pick up the fucking phone. You know the best way to get over something you're scared of? You just fucking do it. And guess what? If you do it enough, you're not scared of it anymore. The first time my kid jumped off the diving board, he was scared shitless. 10 seconds later, he's right back on that motherfucker, jumping right back in. You know? It's because he conquered his fear. And so there's these vibrations, and you should study tonality, and you should focus on getting on the phone. Because here's what I know. Everybody who doesn't buy from us up front, yes, we have follow-up systems. Yes, we have backup systems. I made almost $4 million from fucking internet marketing alone last year. That's not counting the other fucking 7 companies I own. I own real estate, supplements, internet marketing, In fact, I could go on forever. I have a bunch of companies that I own 100% that I do. I have over $2 million of real estate sitting on the ground right now that's paid for with cash. And so I say that. And again, remember, less than 10 years ago, $20 to my name, no home, no family, no none of that shit, right? So if you're scared to pick up the phone, all those leads that don't buy will buy. They just need you or somebody that works for you to talk to them. And I'm about to share with you, the truth is I shared all that shit with you so you'll understand this sales thing that I'm about to share with you. How tricky is that? I got to teach you about life before sales. But I'm about to share the most powerful sales process in the fucking world with you. That's why I ask you to pay 100% attention. I have closed over 40,000 sales in my lifetime. I'm not talking about just from internet marketing. I'm talking about getting on the phone, closing mortgages, doing real estate deals. I have closed over 40,000. I don't know too many people that can say that they've done that. And I have been to every sales seminar that was worth a damn going to. I've read every sales book that was worth a damn reading. I've taken every sales program because I'm coachable. I'm not like these guys that say, I'm the best salesman in the world. I let other people talk and say that, and I'm not going to say, well, I'm not going to argue with them. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I know that I'm never going to be the best because I can always learn from somebody else. And the minute that I start thinking that I'm too good to learn from anybody else is the minute I become the worst. And so I say that because I'm about to share with you the most profitable, powerful sales process on the entire planet, and I know it's going to happen to 97% of you in this room. You're going to go, that shit won't work for me. Fuck you, force of average, because that's exactly what it is. Because if my dumbass with an 8th grade education that's been through all the shit that I've been through can make the money that I make using this process, fuck your excuses, right? So, y'all ready for this? Here's the best part. This is so duplicatable and so easy, you'll be able to hire a salesperson, teach it to them, and they will start making money from you. Do me one favor, don't ever hire anybody who calls themselves a closer. You know why? Because closers don't call themselves closers. I got the nickname hardcore closer. I got that. I didn't just call myself the hardcore closer. There was a time in 2011, my ex-wife was pregnant with my oldest son. And as an entrepreneur, I didn't have insurance. And in case my son was born disabled or had to go in the NICU or something like that, I needed insurance. And I went and sold cars. And of course, I was the top producer, right? And any time the other guys couldn't close, they would say, send in the hardcore closer. Because, you know, I'd had this hardcore lifestyle that I had lived. They'd say, send in the hardcore closer. And they always left burning gas, our gas. But here's what I know. This is a room full of really smart people. You guys know how to build technology. You guys know how to build VSLs. You guys know how to build funnels. You guys know how to do front end, back end, up end, back down, all that shit, right? But here's what I know. Smart people will overcomplicate the shit out of stuff because you're smart. But the rest of the world is falling victim to the force of average. So while you're busting through the force of average, and smart people tend to fucking complicate shit, and regular people can't understand complicated shit, and if they don't understand something fully, they will never make a decision to buy from you because they're confused, and people don't buy when they're confused. They buy when value exceeds price. I bought an Acura NSX. They made 1,500 of them for 1 year only last year. I own number 1438. I didn't need a fucking Acura NSX. It's a badass car, don't get me wrong. The motherfucker, like, you're a man, you get in that motherfucker, you feel like a man. But for 2 weeks only, they were offering $40,000 off a $215,000 car. Well, I got 50 off on mine. And they don't call me the closer for nothing. But I didn't need that car, but I knew if I bought it, it would be a collector's item because value exceeded price. And if somebody can make that big of a purchase, think the same with these houses. Just Tuesday, I bought a house for $365,000 cash. I'll sell it for $525,000 after putting $40,000 in it. I didn't need that house. I already got 4 more projects going. But value exceeded price, therefore I bought. Okay? So here's the thing. You guys are going to leave and complicate this. But you learn from copywriters never to write above a 5th grade level, right? Anybody ever heard that before? Because that's how most people think. Because remember, I just told you your comprehension skills stop at age 7. And by the way, think about what happened to my life between 4 and 7. How fucked up my head is. You know, family lost it all, abused. All that shit happened from ages 4 to 7. It was a lot to fucking cope with later in life. I still struggle with it all the time. But the force of average is going to tell you that shit Stu set up there is no good. It ain't going to work for my business, but I promise you if you'll just fucking try it, it will. So it's called catch. Write that down. We're going to write it down just like this. C-A-T-C-H. Would be better if it was THC, but whatever. True story, smoked pot every fucking day for the last 22 years, even inside a prison. I had one of the most expensive marijuana bills on the planet. I paid $500 a week to smoke. I quit 2 weeks ago. Fuck it, I'll never smoke again. And some people say that and they're like, but I know you ain't gonna get me force of average. I quit smoking cigarettes too. You know what the one fucking thing that made me quit smoking cigarettes? David Goggins, anybody know who he is? He's one of my mentors, one of my close friends. If you don't know who David Goggins is, you need to get on Google and look him up right there. I will let you get on your phone this one time. David he was Navy SEAL for 19 years, and he was what's called the honor man, which means the Navy SEALs say, you are the baddest motherfucker among us, sir, for 19 years. This motherfucker just a couple of weeks ago climbed Mount Everest on a Jacob's ladder in the gym for 6.5 hours without stopping. And if you don't know what that is, A, you need to get your ass in the gym, and B, that's fucking impossible. He can do 100 pull-ups without fucking stopping. He ran 200 miles with a broken foot once. He's a baddest motherfucker living. And I'm fortunate enough to have him as a mentor and a close friend. Actually, and Ken Shamrock is a good friend of mine too. So two of the baddest motherfuckers on the planet are close friends of mine. It's kind of interesting to see where we've come full circle. But so here's the thing. I'm going to share with you the most powerful question in all of sales. And immediately you're going to go, well, that's bullshit. But I promise you, I will explain it all. So the first thing is C, we are going to clarify why they are there. Someone winds up in your Facebook inbox, on your email list, calling your phone, text message, however they get in contact with you. Because that's what we do. We generate inbound leads, right? Everybody in the room's here generating inbound leads, correct? Everybody raise your hand that generates inbound leads. I want to make sure we're on the same planet. I don't teach cold calls. I don't teach door knocking. I think that's all bullshit because if you come knock on my door, we live in Texas. You know? It's like, used to the door, you knock on the door, and people are like, hey, who's here? And the dogs were barking, and everybody's happy. Now knocks on the door, it's like, hey, call the cops. Somebody's fucking here that didn't tell us they were coming over. We live in that world now. I know if you knock doors in Texas, everybody there owns guns. They might greet you with a fucking shotgun. What the fuck you want, boy? You here for my daughter? Right? So cold calls, do you know that 97% of all phone calls go unanswered anyway? Hell, you don't answer when your mama calls. You're going to answer when some sales guy calls? Right? So I don't teach that shit. So I generate inbound leads because I only want to talk to people who talk to me. That's the fastest way to make sales. Stop fucking talking to people that don't want to buy shit. And even if you don't, I'd rather have 10 leads that want to talk to me than make 5,000 cold calls and people don't want to talk to me. That's the hardest thing about sales is because you get told no so many goddamn times that you get down on yourself. But if you'll only talk to people that you got chances of making a yes with, your life will get dramatically better. So we're going to clarify why they're there. And it only takes one question worded exactly like this. And this is the most powerful question in all of sales. And it's what made you decide to reach out. I already see the look in some of y'all's face. You're like, that's bullshit. But the hardest thing to get a human being to do is to make a decision. We live in a world with the force of average putting mass confusion on people. And it's really hard to make a decision. If you don't believe me, when you leave here, ask the person that you're hanging out with where they'd like to eat tonight. Well, I don't know. We can't even decide. We have to eat to live, and we can't even decide what the fuck we want to do on that. But you expect somebody just to make a decision really quick to buy our shit, right? Well, so somebody hits you up on Facebook and you say, the typical conversation in sales goes like this. Hey, I saw your ad and I wanted to ask you a couple of questions or want to know more about it. Oh, hey, cool, you should totally buy this. It's fucking awesome. It'll make you rich. Here's the link. I'll see you when you sign up on the inside. And we think that, and then they don't buy and we're like, what a fucking kangaroo. Do you know what a kangaroo is? Do I have any fans in here that actually follow me outside of this? All right, great, all two of you, awesome. Which is great for me because now I have a new audience. You know, shit, I couldn't have asked for better. If all of y'all knew me, you'd be like, I've already heard this shit before, stupid, which would be a lie because I've only told this story one more time. But a kangaroos are the people that don't buy shit because their arms aren't long enough to reach in their back pocket. But they're just long enough to put all of our lead magnets in their fucking pouch for free. So the next time somebody doesn't buy from you, go, it's a fucking kangaroo. I got one more for you. We call them prairie dogs. Those are the people that take the dollar offer and bounce because they just kind of fucking look around and then they go right back where they came from. If you're not a member of Sales Talk with Sales Pros, I run the largest Facebook group based around sales period. There's 72,000 people in there, somewhere around there. And so you can go to salestalkgroup.com, and it goes right to the Facebook group, and you can opt in. You make sure you answer the questions and read the rules, because my team is relentless in kicking people out. It is a spam-free. I'd love for you to add value to the group, right? But just make sure that you read the rules so you understand the kind of value that we're doing. We've grown this group to 70,000 and making it the biggest group on Facebook without spamming people, without even hitting my list, without ever running ads to it, because people know that they can come there and get value. And we could always use people like you that are smart that could contribute to that. So we're going to ask them, what made you decide to reach out? Because anything that they say implies subconsciously that they made a decision with you. Immediately, 2 seconds into the conversation, we've got them to overcome the hardest thing that there is to do, and that's to get a human to make a decision, and that decision involves you. So that starts this yes process. Do you guys see how powerful that really is, even though it's simple? The greatest thing about this plan is the simplest stuff's the most powerful. I go to Frank Kern's house all the time, and I show him these fucking elaborate funnels, and he goes, throw that away and just do this. God damn, why you got to make things so fucking complicated? I wrote Frank a check for 30 grand the other day, and in the memo line, I put, you know, it says 4 on the check. I put gay sex and surf lessons. What a pussy. He marked the gay sex part out, you know? So some banker's like, dude, somebody paid you 30 grand for surf lessons? You are a badass. I called him back, and he's like, well played, Stu. And I was like, well, I was hoping you would just take me as a client, not cash the check. You know, it's worth a shot. I like Frank. He's changed my life. I've worked with him every year for since 2010. So, since 2011, rather. And so back to this. We say, what made you decide to reach out? There's going to be 2 types of people. It's the 80-20 rule. 80% is going to have their guard up, and they're going to say, well, I'm looking for information about your product. Because they're scared of salespeople, right? Think about it. The media hates us. We're like pit bulls. Pit bulls are how many people in the room have a pit bull as a pet, right? Pit bulls are the most loyal, loving, awesome dogs on the planet. And the time they attack people is people fucking with them because they were protecting the territory of the people they are loyal to and love. That's how salespeople are. But the news hates pit bulls. And every time a pit bull does something, the news is all over. Pit bulls are bad dogs. Matter of fact, many insurance companies won't insure your house if you own a pit bull. Not because they're worried about it biting you, but if a motherfucker crosses the line, you're doing better off to have a fucking pit bull than a gun. And so salespeople are pit bulls. Every time one of us fucks somebody over, the media makes a huge deal about it, but yet there's fucking millions of us every day changing people's lives, and they never fucking mention it. We got The Wolf of Wall Street. I like Jordan. I just recommended his book. But fuck, the whole movie's about hookers and blows and lemons. Funny story, I did New Year's Eve in Mexico. And that's a fucking good time, especially on ecstasy. And I went in the bathroom and bought this ecstasy from this fucking Mexican drug dealer, right? And I took it, and I'm like, this is going to be an awesome night. I'm in the biggest club in the world. It's called The City. 6,000 people. It's 3 times the size of Hakkasan in Las Vegas. It's fucking lit in this bitch on New Year's. And the cops and shit are firing automatic weapons outside when the fucking ball comes down and shit. It was fucking nuts there, man. My kind of people, you know what I'm saying? Well, so I take this fucking pill of X, and nothing happens. And I go back in there, and I'm like, hey, man, some fake bullshit. And he was a closer. He's like, well, just buy another one. About 30 minutes later, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ, we got to get the fuck out of here. It was a great time on the beach that night, though. So we're going to ask them, what made you decide to reach out? 2 types of people. 80% of them are going to be scared to get sold something because, like I said, we have movies like The Wolf of Wall Street and all this other stuff, Gordon Gekko on Wall Street, Boiler Room. Every fucking sales movie ever made is always about The Big Short. Every sales movie ever made is about how big of a fucking ripoff we are. You know what the best sales movie on the fucking planet is? They rip people off in that too. It's fucking Tommy Boy. Think about it. His dad was the master salesman. He was a complete fuck up. 7 years and you're not a doctor, Tommy? Right? His dad dies, he's thrown into a situation. He's just like Moses from the Bible. He becomes a situational leader. He gets a mentor that don't give a fuck about his feelings, that tells him exactly how it goes. He goes on the road, he crashes shit together, fucking catches things on fire. He even gets to the point where his mentor has to fucking smack him with a board to get him to fucking straighten out. And he says, Helen, why the fuck can I make sales, right? And he has that epiphany. Then he goes on, he closes a sale, he catches momentum, he closes another sale, he goes on to get the girl, save the factory, fucking get his fucking stepmom or whatever arrested, saves everybody from Zelensky, and in the end he even gets to tell the fucking little rats on the fucking side of the lake to fuck off, right? But yet it's billed as a comedy. It's not billed as a sales movie, but it is the greatest sales movie of all time because that's what it's really like in sales. That's what it's really like in sales. But again, we laugh at that, and then we look at salespeople. Nobody probably until I said that considered that a sales movie, did you? But it's the best representation that we have, and then they make us look like fucking morons, right? Because like Chris Farley, hilarious, but that was what he was hilarious for. So first, they're going to have their guard up. They're not going to tell you very much. The other 20% are going to say, well, it all started in the 5th grade. I had this thing and this chick and this one thing and then this, and in 1995 this happened, and in 2010 this happened, and they just fucking keep on talking. The natural tendency for a salesperson is to fuck that up and interrupt them. They write this down. He who speaks the least makes the most. If you're the one talking the most in the sales conversation, you will be a broke motherfucker. Shut the fuck up and you will get paid. That is real shit right there. Coming from a guy that does it every single day and has a fuck ton of experience. He who speaks the least makes the most. And so when that person's talking, most people want to fucking talk over them. Most people want to interrupt them. Most people want to say, yeah, I can fix that for you. They want to jump into that shit. That's the force of average getting you to fuck that sale up. You understand what I'm saying? Instead, shut the fuck up and let them talk. If they're boring, just scroll Facebook, right? $500 an hour, just scroll Facebook. That's what I do. I put my phone on mute, and I go on about, if somebody's long-winded, I just put my phone on mute, and then I tell myself, well, I'm about to close this motherfucker. Because they're telling you their story because they want help. And if you don't listen to their story, how can you, there's 2 things that close sales. There is empathy and confidence. How can you have empathy? Now, sympathy is when you feel sorry for somebody, just to be clear. Empathy is when you understand somebody's situation. How can you have empathy for someone if you haven't listened to them? If they haven't told you their situation, how can they be confident that you understand their situation? And if you're interrupting them and you're talking them, because most people think the sales guy has to be the fucking cocky, talk fucking fast, like Ari Gold types, right? But that's not true. People buy based on empathy because if you've told me your problem, sir, and I understand and you know that I understand your problem and I can confidently offer you a solution, the chances of you buying are very high. But if I've talked the whole damn time, then they say, well, how can I buy his shit? He doesn't even know what's wrong with me. And so when we say, what made you decide to reach out? The 20% are your favorite because they're telling you their problems for a reason. And guess what? People don't just tell their problems to everybody. And if you can extract problems out of somebody, they probably won't go anywhere else because problems are embarrassing, right? But if we don't listen, if we interrupt them, it'll never fucking happen for us. So after they're done talking, say that. After they're done talking, we are going to assign their mind to an agenda. When you go into the doctor's office, you usually walk in, they give you the thing, they say, fill this out. You sit down, you fill it out, you go back over there. They say, okay, honey, we'll let you know when the doctor's ready. What do? You're nervous as shit. You look in, you're like, fuck, am I going to be done in an hour, 2 hours? We're anxious, all this shit, right? What if you walked into the doctor and they said, honey, fill this out. Take you about 5 minutes to fill out this paperwork. 10 minutes later, the doctor's going to walk right through, the nurse is going to walk right through that door in a pink uniform. She's going to take you 3 doors down. The doctor will be in to see you 20 minutes after she's done with the examination, and you'll be out of here in 45 minutes. You'd be cool as a cucumber at the doctor's office, wouldn't you? Well, that's what we're going to do on a sales call, because most of the time people get on a sales call and they're like, okay, I'm nervous. Is he going to pitch me? How much money is it going to be? Right? All those anxious things come into these sales calls, and we have to battle past those. Well, I'm going to teach you. There's only 2 scripts, what made you decide to reach out and the one I'm about to share with you, that matter in this whole equation. What we're going to do is we're going to assign their mind to an agenda, because if they know what to expect, just like I told you on the very beginning of this, I said I'd be done in about 90 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to set their expectations, right? And we're going to set, and we're going to assign their mind to an agenda, and we're going to ask them this simple question. Write this down. They say, what made you decide to reach out? They're going to reply, you're going to say, awesome. Well, in order for me to find out how I can best help you, I need to ask you some questions. And all I ask is that you answer them honestly. Meanwhile, while we're having this conversation, if you have any questions for me, feel free to interrupt, and I'll answer honestly as well. Does that sound fair? Now, remember I told you what made you decide was a subliminal implant, right? Fair and honest. Most salespeople are what? Dishonest thieves, according to the media and everything else. And now I have implanted a fair and honest sales conversation in their mind. Okay, I'll repeat that again. They say, what made you decide to reach out? They say, whatever. You say, awesome. Well, here's what I've got to do. I'd like to ask you some questions to find out how I can best help you. All I ask is that you answer those questions honestly. Meanwhile, if you have any questions for me, feel free to interrupt me, and I'll answer honestly as well. Does that sound fair? I've conducted this phone call conversation about 10,000 times, and I have never had anybody say, that does not sound fair at all. They always say, yes, that sounds fair. But then we've planted subliminally a fair and honest conversation in their mind. So think about that. Within the first, depending on how long-winded they were, if they're the 20%, but in the first couple of minutes of this conversation, we've already got them to do the hardest thing that is to get a human to do, make a decision, and then we've already got them to agree that we're going to have a fair and honest conversation so that they don't think they're going to be conned. Does anybody find that powerful in the sales conversation? This can be done via text, it can be done via messenger, it can be done via email, but we all know it works best over the phone because of tonality. So then we are going to talk them through their pain. So in order for us to be congruent, we can't say, let me ask you some questions, that sound fair? And they say yes, and you go, okay, well listen, here's what you need to do, and you just start telling them shit. You're not doing exactly what you said you were going to do, and that's that incongruency I talked about. If your words are different than your body language, remember that? So what are we going to do? We're going to ask them questions. That's right. Who said that over there? I got one more left after this. That's what I'm talking about. Good catch, man. And I throw for shit with this fucked up hand that's half dick, half hand, you know what I'm saying? And so we're going to ask them questions. What you need to do when you leave here tonight, and if you don't do it, it means the force of average got you, is you need to write down 5 to 10 questions that you need to know from every single one of your prospects in order to get that empathy from them. When you go into the doctor, they take your blood pressure, they put that shitty tasting thing that's like a popsicle stick on your tongue, right? They check your ears, they check your nose, they check your mouth. They have the same process every single time that they go through. And by the way, doctors are the coldest closers on the planet. You know why? They have the ultimate close, but you could die. Imagine if you could fucking sell your shit and be like, listen, you know, you could die. Like, we'd all be billionaires, right? Like, we would all be fucking billionaires. If you don't buy my book, you could die. Oh, fuck, dude, sell it to me then, please. It just so happens to be twice as expensive today, too, right? How bad do you want to live? So I'm going to ask some questions. So you need to go get 5 or 10 predetermined questions. We make these things called closer cards. We'll be selling them next week. They may be live right now. I don't know. My team's working on them. But they're flashcards for sales. On one side, we give you like the first 5 or 10 objections, and on the back end, we have you write your own rebuttal. So you write your objection on the front end and a rebuttal on the back end, and then you study them just like you studied flashcards, so that when people give you those objections, you're able to fucking memorize those rebuttals, just like 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 4 is 8, right? Sales is a process. Sales is something that you've always got to be practicing, and anytime somebody throws you a new zinger objection, you just add it to your list, because sometimes we're caught in the moment, we're like, I don't have an answer for that one. Right? But when it's done, we're like, oh shit, I should have said this, right? So you write it down and you memorize it for next time. The same thing, you need to have questions that you ask your people that lead that lead them to say whatever it is that's wrong with them, to tell you their problem. Because here's the thing, the 80% that say, I'm just kind of looking at your shit, the tire kickers, right? The ones that have their guard up, you're going to have to ask powerful questions in order to get through with them. There was an interview with Elon Musk on 2020 on Friday, and on Dateline on Sunday. The interview on 2020, he spoke over 4,000 words. The interview on Dateline, he spoke less than 1,500. The reason why was the person on 2020 said, Elon Musk, what's next for you? And he said, we're going to Uranus. No, that's not what he said. He pointed to her. He's like, we're going to Uranus. It was right after he was divorced. It was awesome. And so anyway, but that's what they said. Hey, what's next for you? And he's just fucking, well, we're going to go do this, and we're going to do this, and SpaceX, and Tesla, and flamethrowers, and all this shit, right? His biggest problem right now is nobody will ship his fucking flamethrowers for him. That's first world problems for real, right? I ain't gonna lie, I bought one shit. You can take away my gun rights, but I got a goddamn flamethrower coming soon, right? And so, you need to ask open-ended questions, because on the Dateline, one that on Sunday, they said, so what's next? Are you going to plan on going to Mars? Are you planning on going to Saturn? Or are you planning on building back? So they preloaded them as if they gave them a multiple choice test. And if you remember in school, the multiple choice tests were always the easiest. The ones where they asked you to fucking write the answer were always the hardest, and you had to give the most explanation. Well, that's what we're trying to do. He who speaks the least makes the most, so we need them to get talking. So we need to ask open-ended questions. So many of us say, are you looking for leads, or are you looking for a funnel, right? When really they might be looking for financial freedom and don't give a fuck, and those two are the means for them to get there. What they really might be doing is going through a divorce, and they need to figure out a way to pay for that lawyer, and once they've admitted that shit to you, that's the real problem. So what we're looking for when we ask them these questions is what I call pillow talk. I learned this from my buddy Kevin Nations. I did mortgages forever. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night and goes, honey, we need a mortgage. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night and goes, we need a pack. Nobody rolls over in the middle of the night and says, we need a monthly payment for 360 months on the place where we want to live. That's exactly what we need. See, a lot of loan officers, the reason why I was so good at it is a lot of loan officers were selling interest rates. I was selling houses, because that's what they roll over and say in the middle of the night. Honey, we need a new house. It's a fucking interest rate, fuck a mortgage. I'm trying to find out why they need that house. And there's only a finite few reasons why they need a house. Kids are moving out, so they're downsizing. They're going to a condo. They're empty nesters. They're having more kids, so they need a bigger house. They're relocating for a job. They're getting a divorce. They're getting married. There's a finite amount of reasons that people say, we're going to pack all of our shit in a box, scream at each other for 2 weeks, lose half the shit that we put in the boxes, take it somewhere else, then can't find the rest of the shit. We don't have underwear for a month, and we're all mad at each other because we're walking around commando inside of boxes, right? That's not what people fucking say. What happens is they say, if we don't get a new house, our kids are going to continue to fight every night over the bunk bed because we don't have enough bedrooms. And those are the problems we're trying to extract. So I always tell you to have these questions prepared, and they need to be open-ended. And have these questions prepared so that when you show up on that call, it's just like the doctor checking for the diagnosis. You know how to walk them through that process. So you need to have those 5 or 10 questions prepared. When you go into the doctor and you say, my knee's fucked up, he doesn't go, well, let me check your elbow out. That's what most salespeople do, right? They go in and they say, well, you know, I was thinking about a way to become financially free. And they're like, oh, well, let me tell you about sales funnels, right? Imagine if you went to the doctor and he's like, have you heard about cancer? Right? You'd be, what the fuck, right? But he doesn't. Instead, he asks you a series of questions. You know, is your ass bleeding? Is this happening? Like, you have all this weird shit. I'm like, damn. And so, because the doctor goes in and you say, my knee hurts, and he starts immediately feeling on that knee until you go, fuck, and he goes, your problem is your meniscus is messed up, right? And then he diagnoses you, and then he writes you a prescription to fix that. Well, we all know most prescriptions actually make it worse. It's like, do you have insomnia? Take this pill. Side effects are dick falling off, being hairless, and, you know, fuck this, like, they usually give them this, like, trading one problem for another. But in theory, they fix you with the prescription, right? And so that's what you're doing. The second the prospect goes, well, if I don't figure out how to make more money, my fucking wife's going to leave me. You go, that's what I can help you do, buddy. If you want to keep her, me and you will work together to make sure that this shit works the way that it's supposed to, so that you can enjoy and get her respect back, get the respect of your kids back, be the man that you want to be the earner that you want to be, but you have to promise me that you're going to get them to level up when you go up. You think if somebody's on the phone with me and they tell me that and I get that fucking passionate with them, they have a chance of not buying from me? Fuck no, they don't. Because you know what? They know I understand, and they know that I'm confident enough in my understanding to be able to offer them that prescription. The only reason we go take the pills the doctors tell us, I saw a story the other day where this lady told these doctors, 15 different doctors, that her daughter was sick so that she could get medical benefits from the government. They did 15 different fucking surgeries on her, and the kid was never even sick. Real shit. It was a fucking news story that was on, I don't remember what website, it was a whole video. No, it was actually a Netflix documentary. It's fucking crazy, right? But again, we're looking to diagnose them so that we can help them, okay? Once we get them to say, yes, that's it, you got it, it hurts, and you say, your meniscus, would you like my help with that? We're going to close them. Say, hey, here's your problem. Your problem is, if you want to save your wife, you're going to need to show up as a man. If you want to save your family, you're going to need to show up as a man. You're going to need to make more money. I can help you with that. I'm confident that I can solve your problem. Would you like for me to help you with that? We've got to trial close them because they may say, nah, you know what, we're not a fit. And at that point, that's okay. Just fucking let them go. It's not worth fighting for sales. I know a lot, if you feel like you can help them, then you have the obligation to handle their objections. But if you know that they don't want help, leave them the fuck alone. Because the hardest thing to do is help somebody who don't want to help themselves. If you don't believe me, go ask an addict. If the addict doesn't, I didn't want to quit smoking pot for many years. And no matter what you fucking told me, there was nothing you could do to get me to quit smoking weed. Oh, and I never told you about David Goggins. I quit smoking cigarettes because he asked me one question. Who do you know that makes 9 figures a year that smokes cigarettes? I ain't had another one since. Think about that. Sometimes the things that you've known your entire life, the words that you've heard over and over and over again, can be arranged in a combination that opens the lock inside your mind that changes your life. Hopefully I've done that for some of you today. So we're going to close them and say, would you like my help with that? Guess what? The 20%, they're going to say, fuck yeah. That's exactly what they're going to say, as long as you didn't interrupt them like an asshole. I told you not to do that, right? As long as you didn't interrupt them, they're going to say, fuck yeah, I want you to help me with that. And that's when you say, well, here's how much it costs, and here's what we'll do for you. But what do you think the 80% is going to do? Well, I know I need this, but I need to talk to my wife, or, my dog's having his testicles removed next Wednesday, or whatever fucking bullshit that the force of average fucking puts in them to keep them from leveling up, right? None of us sell shit that hurts people, and if you do, fuck you, right? We sell shit that helps people, and that's what we're here to fucking do, is make sure that people get help. And so we owe it to them to fight the force of average bullshit excuses that they're using and close them so that they can get the fucking results that they want. You with me? So that's where H comes in. We're going to help them make a decision. It's a pretty cool business that we're in because we just create shit out of air. It's like Wolf of Wall Street. It's a woozy, it's a wazzy, it's a woo, right? Anyway, so looks like some of y'all hadn't seen that movie. Y'all need to Google Wolf of Wall Street. It's a fucking good time, right? But don't judge salespeople based on it. But we're going to help them make a decision. A, we're going to handle their objections. And usually, if we know that value needs to exceed price, then what we do is we say, okay, hey, listen, if you'll make a decision today, I'll throw in X, Y, Z as a bonus. If you'll make a decision today, we don't even have to have that. We don't even have to hang up. We'll just start our first motherfucking coaching call right now. If you make a decision today, whatever it is that you can offer to help them make that decision to make it more valuable for them. Here's the great part. The 20% that just closed, you get to say, great, you made a great decision. And guess what? You don't even have to hang up as a bonus. I'm just going to give you, and we're just going to keep rolling. Or as a bonus, I'm going to give you XYZ program. Or as a bonus, and then there's the other route, a discount. Well, if you act right now, I'll knock 50% off. If you act right now, I'll take 20% off. If instead of $5,000, if you make a decision right now, I'll make it $4,000. There's a reason why so many retailers like Kohl's, you guys familiar with Kohl's? There's a reason why there's a line around that fucking building all the time, is because everything in there looks like it's more valuable than you're paying for it. You've never felt so good about buying bullshit clothes at bullshit prices in your life than you will at Kohl's. Thank God I don't have to shop there anymore. And we're going to help them make a decision. We're going to basically bribe them by giving them extra stuff, but we're not going to fuck the 20% and not give it to them. We're going to give it to them and call it a bonus, which is going to do what? Make them love us even more. Wow, you didn't have to do that. You went above and beyond what I expected you to do. And then the 80% is going to give you a little static, but again, when value exceeds price, they will buy. And so really what I just showed you was a way to have about a 5 to 10 minute conversation that closes with people depending on how much they talk. Not how much you talk, but how much they talk. But I wanted to explain it to you very deep, very subconsciously, very cerebrally, so that you understand the power of this simple process. Because I know smart people tend to fuck up things by overcomplicating it. As a guy with an 8th grade education, if you come talking to me about isosceles triangles and fucking the human genome and shit, I'm like, well, I don't fucking know. But if you're like, hey, if you want this, you can get this, I'm like, oh, okay, makes total sense to me, right? So here's what I like to offer you. Last thing before I leave, I got about 3 minutes left. I have a program called Funnel Closer. Who in here builds funnels? I have 500 people in my group right now that need you guys. I have trained 500 salespeople on how to sell funnels. I have a sales training program called Funnel Closer that is 500. It's only been on the market like 2 months. It's brand new. And it teaches salespeople how to sell what you sell, because I believe that funnels is the next boom. I say this, I believe that the original .com boom was getting domains and building websites, right? And people became billionaires. AOL, all this shit became billionaires. Yahoo, all that stuff, right? But now we're in a .com bubble version 2 where it's sales funnels. Every business needs a sales funnel because according to The Economist, data is the most valuable resource in the world, worth more than oil. And so if a traditional website says, thank you for coming, here's our address and phone number, and some cool shit that we do, right? A sales funnel's like, give me your information, and we'll give you a little bit of something else, and you're collecting data. If you're a real estate agent, a mortgage officer, something like that, when you go to sell your business, they buy your database. They don't buy your fucking Salesforce and everything else. Most companies that get venture capital, that's why Twitter has venture capital and everything else, is they figure out how to monetize the database. They don't give a fuck about the social network. And so that's the new .com bubble that we're in. And I've got guys that know how. They know catch, they know how to sell them, they know how to do everything but make them, so we need you guys. So here's the thing. In order to get access to my guys, and you can hire them, and you can work with them, and you can, and there's guys that are already making $100,000 a month selling funnels for people back there. My sales guys, like I have fucking animals, right? Because that's what I do. I train salespeople. The program is $997. I'd like for you to buy it today. I guarantee you that you can go and buy it today. If you follow the program, you'll be better at selling your own funnels. Fuck, what's wrong with that? You sell one of them for $5,000, it's totally fucking worth it. You sell one of them for $1,000 and it's worth it. And I don't know who the fuck sells funnels for $1,000, but you need to up your personal value. You see what I'm saying? So not only will you learn how to sell the shit that you only sell, but you'll have a group with people that have already went out and made sales, and we have a job board that looks like Craigslist where they go and enter the fucking funnels that they need, and all you've got to do is go check that fucking job board and bid on it, and you can go fucking pick as many of them out and make as much money as you want every single day. You can set your own price, you can set the own commission with them. That's the whole thing that they've got negotiated. Now here's the thing. If you buy this today, and they have sheets in the back, and I'll ask you to go back there in just a minute. If you buy this today, I will throw in my Show Up and Close training, which is another sales training program we have that's $500, and it is a program where you listen to one audio a day for 30 days, then you repeat the process one more time, and you will be a stone cold Jedi closer. I have been proving it time and time again for 6 years now. It's my version of Dan Henry's Facebook ad version for sales. So if you want to get good at sales, that's an additional bonus. So value exceeding price. You see what I'm fucking doing up here? Just to point that out, right? I'm H, and I'm value exceeding price. But only if you buy tonight. There won't be no tomorrow. There won't be nothing else, and you have to go directly back there in a minute when I ask you to pick up the stuff, okay? Here's the thing. If you're in Dan Henry's group, or if you decide to join his high-end mastermind, his elite group, I give it to you for free. So if you're already in it, or if you decide to join Dan's stuff while you're here, I believe in him, and I have so much respect for him that I'll give it to you for free. But the offer for my stuff, which you would instantly step into money, everybody in this room should get up and go buy it, because you'd be instantly stepping into a crowd of people that can sell your shit, and not only to mention that you'd be able to sell your shit if that was your plan too. Okay? The second thing is, who can tell me what's the most powerful question? The first person to stand up gets it. Who can tell me what the most powerful question in sales is? Come get $100 from me, man. So here's the thing. I'm going to ask you, if you're serious about your business, you want to sell more funnels, go to the back, talk to these people, no pressure. They've got a form back there that they're going to fill out. You're going to pay Dan, not me, so you ain't got to worry about some goddamn criminal with your credit fucking card number, right? Dan's going to write me a separate check out of all of it so y'all can pay it directly to him. But please go back there, talk to them, get signed up. I'll make sure you get both of the bonuses by Tuesday when I get back in town. I'll make sure that you have all of that stuff and everything set up for you, as well as the people that joins Dan's mastermind. He's going to let me know about you guys as well, and I'll make sure that you get it. That's my time. Thank you for having me up here, everybody. Make sure you go back there and see those folks.